What's a trust? A trust is another type of document that we do, and a trust is a very specialized contract. Think of one that is just, in American law, you can track for any legal purpose. So you can make a trust to do virtually everything you want. For most people, there are no tax consequences to making a trust. The current tax law says that unless you have an estate in excess of $11.18 million, you don't have an estate in gift taxes. And in the state of Michigan, there are no inheritance taxes. So you don't really have to worry about tax consequences. What your focus should be is your family and avoiding probate. That's what this trust does. It creates a legal entity. And if you think of that entity as just a big bucket that you want to put everything that you own into, either now or eventually, and I'll explain more about that later, then that's what you want to do. And so when you die, if your spouse is still alive, he or she is still going to be your trustee, and they'll take care of things for themselves. We do mostly revocable trusts, and that means that it can be amended, changed. You can do whatever you want until the first person dies. Then we make it irrevocable so that the wishes of both parties are carried out in the trust. So, once you have your assets transferred to that trust, the trustee is going to take care of them. Now, what's unusual about a trust is that you get to wear different hats. In fact, you get to wear at least 3 hats at the beginning of any trust. You're the grantor, settlor. That's the person that creates a trust. You might, if you get online, run into some newfangled language that says trust maker. Personally, that doesn't appeal to me. So I use grantor or settlor, maybe because I'm older and not into the new PC language of documentation. They're all the same person, but you and or your spouse, if you have one, are the grantors, settlors. You create the trust. And you sign that document as the trustee, because that's another hat that you wear. The trustee is somebody who's your fiduciary. That's a person who owes a very high standard of care to those people that the trust says he or she is supposed to take care of. By the way, it doesn't need to be a he or a she. That trustee can even be a bank or a corporate trust department or a trust department of a brokerage house. There are different ways of handling this, but most people don't want to get involved with corporate trustees. And generally we don't recommend that you do because it's an additional expense and it's a more difficult situation to deal with than just dealing with an individual who's in your family. So far, you're the grantors, you're also the trustees. They're also what they call beneficiaries, and you're your own beneficiary to begin with. So that means that the assets that you put into the trust are going to be handled for your benefit, and they're going to be distributed to you as you want them to be. Typically, it's for whatever you want, because you can always change that trust if it doesn't accommodate what you want in the first place. As long as you're alive, that trust is revocable or can be amended, modified as you see fit. You can change who you want your property to go to. You can change who the trustee is. You can change who the successor trustee to you and or your spouse is. Now, very often people seem to like to choose their oldest child. Well, let's say that person's not available. What the language we use is unwilling or unable to serve. Well, obviously, if they predecease you, they're unavailable or they might choose not to take that position because they don't want the job and the work involved with handling a trust. But then you have still another successor trustee to that person, and usually by having 1 or 2 successor trustees, you've covered the basis so that you know things are going to be taken care of. And the beneficiaries are whoever you want them to be. They can be your immediate children, their grandchildren, a charity, a church, a school, a research facility. Anything you want can be put into a trust. As I said, you can create this contract, this very specialized contract, to do anything that's legal. You can't contract in the United States to do something that's illegal. We don't go there. So you don't have to worry about that. So one thing that's really nice about a trust is that it's private. Unlike a will has to be registered with the court when you die. And so people would know your business if you only had a will. A trust is private. and stays between you and the trustees, and it is never published unless there's litigation over it. And in 99.9% of the cases, there's no litigation. Unfortunately, when there's a lot of money on the table, there's sometimes litigation because people disagree about what you did and why you did it, and that can promote litigation between the beneficiaries and perhaps your trustee. But the likelihood of that is very insignificant on a percentage basis. So don't worry about that. The trust is going to be inviolate when you die. It's going to set up in advance what you want to do. If you want to carve out somebody and disinherit somebody, you can do that. If you want to make special provisions for somebody with special needs, you can do that. And typically, we recommend that you create a special needs trust for people who might need government assistance at a later date. Because if their share is set up on a discretionary basis, then it's not subject to the Medicaid rules, and they can't force a spend down before they're eligible for governmental assistance, if in fact they need that. Sometimes people need disability or Medicaid or senior housing or health care facilities that are paid for by the government. By setting up special needs for your beneficiaries, if they need it, then you can avoid it.